Blog Talk Radio.
Here we go with the main event of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen in attendance, moms and dads joining us around the world. It's time for the Matthew Ball we've been waiting for. Finally, it is showtime.
Here, man, we dedicate our life to this sport. We do thousands of sit-ups in camp. We run hundreds of miles, for the ones that take it serious. And we just dedicate ourselves fully to our craft, man. We watch tape. We have attitude. We rooting, and we go into that fight is to land on the line.
Basketball fans, the College Ball Show is back. I'm Chris, he's Marshall, and we're here to discuss everything revolving around the sport of college basketball. Good old college hoops. Got off to a rocky start. It's kind of been a thing. I think I'm just going to start shows kind of strangely. My Skype kind of looked like it was about to fade out really quick, so that kind of threw me off. Anyway, we are back for another week, the College Ball Show. Last week was our first week, turning into college basketball. We call it the College Ball Show because we start in late August with college football, take that all the way to the national championship. Then we go college basketball. We take college basketball right now all the way through early April, first week of April, which obviously is the national title game. And then we figure if you like college basketball, there's a good chance that you'll like the NBA playoffs. So we do it's called the NBA Playoff Banter podcast, and we do that basically right when the national championship's done. The next show, that'll turn into the NBA playoffs. We take that all the way through April, May, and June to the finals, and then we have a show covering the draft. And then, of course, we got to cover NBA free agency, which goes deeper into July every single solitary year. I'm sure this one won't be that much different. But right now, the College Ball Show is 100% focused on college basketball. Now, last week we had a variety of different matchups that we kind of were talking about. We had a lot of upsets this week, and I think 4 in the top 10 were beat, and 3 of them came via unranked team. The Duke, number 1 Duke at that time against number 4 Virginia. That's really not upsets. You know what I mean? If you got 2 top 10 teams going at it, that's different. However, we did see, like I said, Kansas got beat by West Virginia, a team who hadn't had a win the last time we spoke last week. Texas Tech, who was looking the part as a great defensive team. We know that, but their offense seemed a little bit better this year. It looked like a squad that could, finally beat Kansas, take over the Big 12. They've squandered. They lost to Baylor 73-72. So we had just a variety of upsets across the landscape of basketball, of college basketball. One of my upsets of the week pick for my article that I do on gruelingtruth.net was Texas. They were in need of a big win at the time, and they got it at home, beating Oklahoma 75-72. So, we're going to start the show with recap from basically the last handful of days. It's midweek right now. So, Big Monday had a whole lot go on as far as just quality games. Even last night was pretty good. If we count tonight, which we have to, obviously, Tennessee got taken to overtime on the road at Vandy. They ended up winning in overtime, 88-83. That was a good game, though. Very good game. LSU beat Georgia. LSU is now a top 25 team. They won 98-82. Houston, who's looking damn good this year. I don't know about their conference per se, but as a squad, number 17 Houston's looking pretty good. They won 94-50. Later on tonight, Nevada plays, who's 18-1, and they're favored by 19. So I think it's safe to say that they're probably going to get that W. But yeah, just a couple of days ago, big Monday, Kansas and Iowa State had a great game. Watching that game, it felt like Iowa State was going to get that done. My co-host Marshall, who I'm going to bring in just a moment, his squad, North Carolina, got a big win, and Michigan State outlasted Maryland down the stretch. So yeah, we got a variety to talk about. Obviously, this upcoming weekend, kicking off really Saturday, we got a variety of big games, marquee matchups, games that still mean something, that are under the radar maybe. But one of the biggest ones that stands out is number 8 Kentucky, who's been on a roll lately, against number 9 KU. That's part of the Big 12 SEC matchup that they do. I kind of like how they do it a little later in the season, and then we'll look to Tuesday and Monday and Sunday, some of the big games out of that too. So we'll definitely kind of talk about what we just saw, give some takes, some themes and whatnot of the last handful of days, and then predict whether it's we're talking betting, we're talking the actual line, or just the team. We kind of go from conference to conference as we break down how, where the races are, some of the big games of that week. If this is your first time listening to the College Ball Show, it streams live right here on blogtalkradio.com/Rope-It-Up Radio. It streams live. It archives right here. So the College Ball Show is part of the Rope-It-Up Radio podcast, okay? So it's part of the network, the sports network. It's basketball, it's football, it's boxing. So we're available here. It's basically the headquarters. Like I said, we're also available on iTunes. Player FM is another great source. A lot of people, like Player FM the way it's set up. We get a lot of listens through it. TuneIn is another great site too. With the TuneIn, you can get on Spotify and other places as well. And Stitcher, Spreaker. I know a lot of people like Spreaker's app as well. So we're available all over the place. We're also, the College Ball Show is part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network. Okay, and that can be found everywhere. iTunes, Player FM, a variety of different places. You can also, subscribe and listen to it on iHeartRadio. So the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network is available on iHeartRadio, and you can stream it on Spotify. So you can listen to the College Ball Show right on Spotify. Head on over to the gruelingtruth.net. That's the gruelingtruth.net. You can read an article. I do a weekly college hoops picks. I also write for boxing on that website as well. So you can read an article. You can, listen to the podcast right there as well. That's another spot, the gruelingtruth.net. And while you're at it, place a bet. It'll link you right to mybookie.ag. That's mybookie.ag. Head on over to the gruelingtruth.net. We also have another, a lot of people are cutting the cord, the cable cord, right? And right now, through DirecTV Now, not DirecTV the satellite, but the streaming service, DirecTV Now and AT&T. I've been an AT&T customer for a long, long time. Between DirecTV Now and AT&T, they actually have a deal that sets you into a price for 2 years. And you can get a large package with all the sports channels and all the movies channels. You can add movies channels like HBO and Showtime, of course. Or you can just get something that's going to give you 30 channels. It has, rates from $39.99 to $40 to $50 to $60. So go, check that out. If you're thinking, a lot of people are just using like a Roku or an Apple TV, and they're just kind of through there and like, okay, I'll get Netflix. Okay, I'll get Amazon. And you can get HBO through that, somewhat anyway. that live look isn't as good through Amazon. But, if you're in that case right now where you've already canceled your cable and you're not happy with Sling or some of these other kind of knockoff, DirecTV Now, you can go right with that. But especially if you're an AT&T customer, it's still a really good deal. You can still have Amazon. You can still do Netflix. You can, load that stuff up, have HBO, have Showtime, and you're still like $100 minimum, $100 less than having straight up DirecTV satellite or cable. So something to think about there. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my co-host and see how he's doing on this lovely Wednesday. What's going on, man? How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Just I just caught the end of the Vols and Vandy games. I mean, shit, that's about as good of an intro as you can have for getting ready for the show. And going back a little bit to how they played Alabama Saturday, Tennessee might be a team we talk about quite a bit this year. So, yeah, I'm in a good mood. My kids were good today in class, so that makes life pretty easy. If I just got worried about coaching, like, life is okay. When the kids don't stress you out, the job is pretty simple.
I can see that.
It's a beautiful thing being a teacher and coach when the kids are good. Man, Tennessee, I mean, I said it kind of jokingly, this is a team we're going to talk about a lot this year because they're a hell of a basketball team. I mean, I guess for my first take of the night, tonight, their boy Williams goes 23 of 23 from the free throw line. Last Saturday, Tennessee looks marvelous in the first half. In the second half, Alabama gets hot, but down the stretch, Tennessee does enough to win. This is a team where, a couple weeks into the season, I know people were writing articles about them, hyping them up, everything like this Tennessee team is fun to watch. They got incredible players. They have good guards. They got everything going the right way. And I think they're proven to be true about all the media we've heard. I'm still a little, questionable on Nevada, which I talked about on our last show of, like, is Nevada deserving of this hype? They keep seeming to be down every game in the first half. They seem to get it done, but it's never really in pretty fashion. This Tennessee team, man, the Vols, like, this squad's for real. And I know that they were an answer to the question I asked you to wrap up our last show as well, kind of tying the Vols back and forth of, I asked you who are the best two teams you've seen this year. And I believe you said for the month of December, kind of November, December, you said Tennessee was your answer as well. So they have guards. They have an experienced coach. They have guys that people think could be NBA potential. Tennessee's always kind of been viewed as an SEC football team from when you and I were younger kids. And they've always kind of been a decent college because they've had the named athletes. But, this is the first time, I guess, since Bruce Pearl left, and,
right.
Assuming Rick Barnes isn't in trouble, they have a clean program with a lot of talent, and this is a team that could win the SEC. It's normally always been, we got Kentucky and pick a random team out of a hat for whoever's going to challenge them this year. It could be this year. We got Tennessee and we have pick a random team. So, yeah, I guess I'll be my little starter. But man, they got Schofield, they got Williams, they got that point guard Bowen. I mean, they're a hell of a squad, Chris. I support your answer now after watching them play 2 times since we've done our last podcast. They're a fun bunch to watch.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you're right, that Alabama game definitely tightened up. I guess the only thing they got against them is their coach. When he gets to the tourney, not so good, not so much.
Sure.
Or he'll get to the Final Four, but he just can't. There was a couple of runs there where you thought, this might be the squad, and he just can't get over the hump. But it's so tough to do it. When we see these coaches do it multiple times, it's special. We may just get used to North Carolina and Kentucky and Duke and all these names getting there. But it's tough, man. It is tough. But you're right. It'll be something to keep an eye on. And when I mentioned the top 4 teams in the top 8, 3 of them got beat by unranked teams. I forgot. I don't know how I did it, but I forgot to mention Wisconsin beating Michigan at home. Wisconsin protected their court. They won 64-54. It was a closer game than that. Some free throws at the end kind of stretched it out last Saturday. This one was a surprise to me, just because, I mean, they got to get out the schneid, West Virginia. They were 0-5 at the time. But 9-9 as a squad, which we brought this up last week, and we're thinking, what the hell? But Haley actually got a layup with 8.5 or 8.5. It says right here actually, and kind of a late rally done. It was a tale of two halves where Kansas and West Virginia were tied 23-23, and then they kind of the scoring kicked in, 42-21. And like I said, down the stretch, West Virginia just flurried late and made a nice little comeback. So that was an upset, too, by an unranked team. And, we're just trying to find that squad that's going to finally beat Kansas. I don't know if it's going to happen. Something of a theme that happened last year, and we mentioned it I gave a couple of examples last week with – a team that's looking good, and then they lose 3 in a row. And you're like, what the hell happened? And that's not to say to count them out all the way or anything. A lot of these teams that do that can still get to the tournament. But Indiana is one of those teams. And Ohio State, I think I brought up last week, how they started out 2-0, then they, lost 4 in a row or 3 in a row. Iowa started out 0-3, and now they're 5-3 in the Big Ten. And here's Indiana, just falling all over themselves. They just look like crap. I mean, they started out, I think, 3-0 in the conference, and I think you got to look at. I mean, it was 2 of the losses. I should say 3. Oh my God, 4! I didn't even realize that because I know they lost Northwestern, but I thought that was at home. At Michigan, at Maryland, home Nebraska, at Purdue, and at Northwestern, and now they got to play Michigan next. They get a tad bit of break, but not much. And if you look at Indiana better buckle up, dude. They better buckle up. But that is a theme that you see, especially when they're dealing with college kids. And right now, Indiana just can't get out of their own way. A couple of games, 2 more games that I want to talk about from the weekend, specifically on on Saturday anyway. I will touch upon a couple of things on Sunday. Florida State went down, actually. But the 2 games that stand out, Duke versus Virginia, which they ended up winning that 72-70. It was close all the way down the stretch. And then Kentucky getting a big road win at Auburn. Auburn actually was short a player, but still a big win. What do you think about those 2 games, 82-80 and 70-72? So Kentucky and Duke get big wins and pretty much some of the highest profile games last week.
Yeah, I mean, the Duke-Virginia game, kind of what we expected. I thought it'd be a little more lower scoring. I remember giving my preview and pick. I thought Virginia would win just because I still think Duke's man-to-man defense is lacking, and they rely a lot on their offense to make up for it. Obviously, with Virginia, it's a lot more of a slower pace. They're not necessarily trying to run down the court on you, but they're still trying to set you up half-court offense. I mean, one number that kills Virginia is they were 3 of 17 from shooting 3, But, Christ, Duke was only 2 of 14, of shooting 3, which for a Duke win, they used to rely on the 3, and I know West Virginia's been more high on it. So it wasn't the best offensive game, but Duke at the end got it done when they had to. Everyone on Twitter thought that Trey Jones, their star point guard, being out was going to be a huge deal breaker for Duke. They got the win without him. I'm not quite sure how much I buy into that. I mean, you still got Reddish and Barrett and Zion Williamson. But the whole world seemed to think that Trey Jones is this piece that binds them together. Maybe he is. I guess we'll find out more, Chris, as the year goes on. But, I mean, a nice one by Duke. The one thing this team has been able to do is when the game does matter, they do have so many options of guys who can make shots. Again, I still don't think they're completely set on who should take the last shot, if so be it. I think Zion is your choice due to how tough he is to guard, but he doesn't seem to be choice number one. But nonetheless, I mean, I've seen them now play a close game against Virginia. I saw them play the close game against Texas Tech. This is a team where you really can't afford to double team any player on Duke. You know, normally in college basketball, every team has one stud. I'm not saying all these guys on Duke are like phenomenal lottery picks already, but they do have the skill where if you decide to double team, you know, said player on Duke, and you're leaving someone else open in the clutch moments of the game, they're probably going to kill you. You know, if you decide to double team Zion, okay, Reddish or Barrett can probably hit a pretty good jumper, or vice versa. So I think they're coming along further as a team that knows how to finish games. And to flip the script a little bit, I'll throw it back to you. This is kind of the Kentucky issues we've talked about for the last couple of years we've done our pod, where it was always, you know, how is Calipari forming these guys together? Instead, it's, you know, for once, it's how is Coach K coaching all these guys? When we do our podcast next year, we're not going to mention them in this time of the show. We might mention them for the NBA Draft podcast, but I don't think we're going to be talking about Reddish, Zion, and Barrett. Like, they're going to be, you know, guys going on next year. So how will he continue to develop this team as they grow? Who knows? But I think they're, and it kills me to say all this nice stuff about them, but they also don't have a J.J. Redick type guy who I already automatically hate. I mean, Zion doesn't drive me nuts yet, so it's a little easier to speak of Duke when they don't have that typical white guy, you know, comes from kind of the prep school, kind of just drives you insane. Zion is a little more lovable than J.J. Or Greg Paulus. But I
that's
think
true.
That is
true. He's got a big smile and stuff. He's got that energy on the court. You're right. It is a little different.
I mean, it's still Duke, and I'm not changing colors at all. I'm still a Tar Heel fan. I can't wait till when they play each other in next month. But and Virginia, you know, they talked about that Kyle Guy, kind of their go-to stud. Up until the very end of the game, he was like 0-5 from 3. He didn't have his best game per se. If you're a Virginia fan, you look at the scoreboard, you're like, okay, we lost by 2 at Duke. We did not have a great night offensively. You know, and we get to play them in our home stadium in, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. So if you're Virginia from that standpoint, Chris, I mean, obviously you go to film, try to work on a few things, shoot the ball a little bit better, but you only lost by 2 points. And, you know, obviously in college basketball, we talk about how home court advantage is huge. It's not the biggest discouraging loss in the world.
Yeah, not at all. It really isn't. Hunter, I thought, played really good for them. But, you know, I think the Jones thing is, well, one, he's the point guard. So they had 1 center and 4 forwards is basically what it – if you look at how it's listed, that's what they got. They got the only guard they got. It comes off the bench. I mean, Reddish is basically a guard, but you know he's a swing guy. So I think the fact that just bringing up the ball up the court, setting the offense, and not being a guy looking for his shot is where Trey Jones comes in. And kind of just blend them all together. But you know, Reddish didn't really have that great of a game. No one, like you said, shot well from the 3. It's crazy because, like you said, 3 of 17, 2 of 14, but both teams shot over 50% from the field. So that's just weird. Sure. That's a weird thing there. Obviously, Duke, a key was Duke getting to the line. Zion had, you know, an all-purpose game, no doubt about it. But it was a good game. I thought it pretty much came down to the wire. There was moments where Duke would get like a 4 or 5 or 6 point lead, but then it would be like, oh, nope, not anymore. They're right back up with you. So, yeah, I think if you look at Virginia, like you said, I don't really think that they that there's nothing to be ashamed of when it comes to that. As far as that Kentucky win on the road, they weren't great defensively in the second half. They gave up 53 points. They came out stormtrooping, 35-27. Looked great. Now, lucky for them, they did actually put up 47 points, even though they gave up 53 in that second half. So that did help. There were some late free throws, and that kind of just grinded out the 82-80 game. And then you have Kentucky, who, like we spoke of last week, that it's a little bit different this year. It is a little bit different, and I'm really excited to see how this thing's going to get together. But the fact that they have more established players tells me it's not going to take them as long as it has, and you can already see it. They took on a ranked team last night, actually. Ended up beating them and looked great once they got a hold of that game. They really put it on them. It was 76-55 over Mississippi State. I'm not quite sure where Mississippi State stands. I know they're ranked, but we'll see. But obviously, we'll get later in the show. We'll get to that Kentucky-Kansas game, big game. Kentucky's at home, and then they got a sneaky one on the road at Vandy after that. So you never know, but Kentucky, it seems like it's not going to take till late February to really get consistency. Because they don't have all those young players. Your squad got a victory over Miami, North Carolina, 85-86 on that Saturday. Very tight game on Sunday with my Minnesota Gophers over Penn State. Needed that win, but that was a really close game. Iowa is looking really good. Like I said, they started out 0-3. Now they're 5-3 in the conference. And Boston College got a nice win at home over Florida State. They're kind of a tricky team. I think they're a little bit better than their record, says. And last night, Duke ended up winning. Michigan beat Minnesota last night at the frickin' buzzer. But still, I'm happy that they showed up on the road, something that they haven't really done as much. And I mentioned Texas Tech. Here they are. The sky's falling. And Kansas State's better than what their ranking says right now. They're 58-45. I'm really looking forward to that, watching that squad as well. Texas Tech, I don't know what's up with them right now. We talked about a couple of teams out there. You mentioned Nevada. Another team we mentioned was Buffalo. They were 14th ranked Buffalo. And they ended up losing last night on the road, 77-75. So who knows just how long, they're going to be, ranked anyway. And a couple games we're going to talk about Monday. Those are the games we'll kind of, dig into, and I'll let you talk about your Kakalaka team as well. Auburn stumbled now twice. They definitely need – I can't remember the guy who's out, but he's a key player. But South Carolina is a squad that we got to keep an eye on. Silva went off for like 32 points. There was a three less than a minute. I know that. South Carolina is or not South Carolina. I totally botched that. It's not South Carolina. It's the team I want to talk about. Although they're 10-8, this is a weird freaking year, man. They're 10-8, but yet you look at them in conference and you're like, wow, they're third in the SEC right now. So you're thinking, man, I think I was thinking of Ole Miss is the team I was thinking about. And Villanova now slowly but surely moving up in that Big East. And I don't know where the Big East is at this year. It feels kind of light. Some of these teams, I mentioned that last week, some of these teams that we're used to seeing win, Butler and Providence and whatnot, they don't look as good this year. But Nova had a rough start. They're figuring it out now. We talked about how they have some pieces that they got to put together because the last couple of years they've just lost most of that talent, from a great run that they had. Got 2 championships out of it, but man, they're now on a really good hot streak. But South Carolina did beat Auburn last night, like I mentioned. But just kind of focusing in on Monday, and then we'll get to Saturday and Sunday and next Monday and Tuesday, preview some of those games. It seemed like even though Michigan State and Maryland had been on that run as well, being, unranked, and I think they're 7-2 in conference or something like that. We'll go over the conference races in some of the games like we mentioned, but it was kind of a game that Michigan State would kind of jump out on them. They were up kind of big in the second half. I think they got to like 36-22, and they just slowly but surely kind of just ran away with it and were able to keep that distance. But in the first quarter, I don't know. To me, it kind of felt, I'm not talking about right away, because right away Michigan State started out wonderfully. Actually, I think they had they got it up to let me look, 18-6. But Maryland battled back, and I thought, okay, they got it back, and it was within a handful of minutes that they got it back. And I'm thinking, okay, this could be a pretty good game. I'm looking forward to this. And Michigan kind of made a run at the end, hit a couple of threes, got it to 31-20, and just never looked back. Michigan State, they may have 2 less stars from last year, but they may be a better overall team this year. So that's another thing to keep an eye on. And let's kind of talk about both these games. Obviously, from Monday night, your squad, North Kakalaka, 11 in the country, walloped number 10 in the country, 103-82. And then Kansas got a much-needed win because Iowa State had beat them just last week or the week before recently. And but it wasn't easy. It looked like Iowa State was going to pull kind of a stunner on the road at Kansas. What did you think of those 2 games? You can obviously start with your Tar Heels.
Yeah, I was a little scared at the start of the game because Virginia Tech came out and hit their first 7 out of 8 threes, and I was like, dear God, what's happening? And Carolina started off 2 of 7 from 3. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, we talked about on our podcast, this is Tech for real. Their schedule doesn't show it. I'm like, this should be a good win at home. I mean, Carolina had the win at Miami. You got some confidence, and everything should be okay. But the way that game started, about 10 minutes in, I'm like, oh, boy. But then the end of the first half, that game just kind of got flipped. Tech started to miss. Carolina started making their shots. And Carolina goes into halftime on a 15-1 run, and ball game, over. And they had a comfortable 15-20-point lead the whole second half, and that was the end of the show. So that little swag run at the end was huge for the Tar Heels. They started making all their threes. Tech started missing finally. Again, UNC kind of got an all-around collective effort. There really isn't a player that the Tar Heels rely on every night, guaranteed for everything. I mean, I love Kobe White, but we also got seniors. We have freshmen. We're kind of a mix and match team. But it was a win. We're still tied at top of the first in the ACC, in our conference. So a nice W. And then it was kind of a perfect setup for TV because that game after that was Kansas and Iowa State. And to give Iowa State credit, kind of my second favorite, my stepson team or whatever, they had that game. They were in the lead for almost the whole game. They came out quick. Kansas got down, I think 7 or 8 very, very early, called timeout. Iowa State had control of that game until about 5 minutes left in the second half. and Kansas finally started to pull ahead a little bit. I think they only got up as much as 8 at most. So that was a neck-and-neck game the whole way. Again, I'm surprised Iowa State for losing guys to the draft the past 2 years to have a team they have this year that has all the talent they appear to be showing. That coach, I believe Steve Fromm, is putting together a hell of a nice season. Kansas did just enough. That place, Chris, for home court advantages is one of the best in the country. God, I something's weird. I'm being too nice to Duke and Kansas. I had something slipped in a beer today, and I'm not realizing it.
You are in a good
subliminally
mood.
messing with.
Your kids did treat you well. Holy cow!
I know.
Next thing you know, you're going to talk about Urban Meyer. Okay, I overstepped the line. You're not going to say anything good about Urban Meyer. I apologize.
If we get there, Venmo me a therapist, fly them down here and have me.
I was going to say I'm going to call the cops and be like, "Hey, I got a buddy. You need to go to his house now."
He's in too good of a mood. He was roofied a drug. Please check with him. I don't know what's happened to me, brother. But yeah, hey, they got to win at home. I don't know when the last time someone has swept Kansas. I did say kind of for a gambling pick last week, West Virginia always gives them a battle on the road, but it'd be interesting. I'll try and see if I can find for our next show the last time someone swept Kansas in a Big 12 season. Obviously, Iowa State at Hilton Arena is always tough. West Virginia, Morgantown is always tough. But I'm trying to recall off the top of our head, because even with, the Buddy Hield, he put on that show, Kansas, that 1 year, but they beat him even though he dropped 43. I'd have to go – I'll have to look that up. But Iowa State almost damn near pulled it off. I do think this team's for real. I had little to no faith in them going into the year just because I had no one on the team. So they did get a loss. Yeah, Kansas got the win. Kansas remains up top. But it was a very close, fun, competitive game. So, yeah, that was a good Monday night. You mentioned Sparty against the Turtles. My boys played. My other boys played. For Monday night, you can't complain too much about that. The rest of it's kind of a bunch of teams that you wouldn't really recognize as you scroll through the page on ESPN. Yeah, this Carolina team, it's just weird getting used to a squad that is kind of a culmination of players compared to a true stud point guard who's fully developed with a forward who's going NBA. We're not quite there yet, so I'm kind of trying to get used to this team who has potential, I'd say, right now to be a Sweet 16 team, but they're not quite that just typical Carolina Blues squad. So it's kind of work in the making. So I'm looking forward to watching them play as they develop in the ACC. At Monday night's moment, when Duke did win at that moment, there was a 5-way tie for first in the ACC. Obviously,
I saw that.
That has changed since then, Chris.
I screenshot
that way.
I was like, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's changed since then. But, yeah, that was kind of crazy to show how top-heavy the ACC was on that night. And I will try to return back to my normal self. I've been way too nice to teams I've hated my whole life. I'm not sure where I'm going to go with my next time I get to talk. But, again, you have my phone number, and you live near my parents. If this show keeps getting worse, make a drive out to Lakeville and say, hey, there's something going on. We got to address the situation.
I hate to, come over here on this topic, but I got to talk to you about something. Yeah. So you're right, though. Iowa State, watching the game, they had the lead, I think 42-37 at half, and they stretched it to 47-39, and then Kansas would kind of jump back into it, and then they'd push it to 6 or 8 again, and it just kind of tit for tat maybe the first 10 minutes. Then got back into it, I think tied it up 53-53, almost at the halfway point of that second half. And once again, though, then all of a sudden it looked like, okay, well, they're going to be okay, though. They're still within range. Kansas kind of had gone on their run. They got a little bit of a lead or whatnot. But down the stretch, it really felt like they were going to get this done. And I think they got up 60. I think Kansas did actually end up getting up, 69-62. But they just kept coming back and coming back. Next thing you know, it's like made free throw, got to the line, hit a three, and with 2:30 left, it's 69-69 after Michael Jacobson three. And they just couldn't quite finish it off. But you're right, that would have been something to do the home and home in a sense, to do the home and road.
Sure.
That would have been something. That would have been something else. But it did not happen. As far as action going on right now, not a whole lot to report. Marquette, with 4 minutes left, is up by 9 on DePaul. And now it's a 20-point spread for Nevada that starts at 10 Central. It was just 19. Now it's up to 20. So I don't know if you're going to need to watch that game. I'll tell you what, this kind of snuck up on me. I didn't realize that was Thursday. I was thinking that was Saturday. But tomorrow night, we got some games. Michigan State at Iowa. That's going to be a really good game. Michigan State is a 5.5-point favorite on the road. They've been on a tear, but, Iowa's been pretty damn solid too. And then NC State in Louisville square off as both ranked in the top 20, 21 against 23 at Louisville. That'll be on the ACC network. So something to keep an eye on. Let's see if Indiana can somehow get a W on Friday night against Michigan. They're now 12-7. They've really fallen. So we'll see if they can pick it back up. So I'm really looking forward to – I work pretty late, so I'm going to get home and probably watch that game tomorrow night, Michigan State at Iowa. That's a big game. I actually think – I think Iowa's going to win that game. I think they're going to do it. Michigan State's 5.5 right now, favored. I'm picking Iowa in that one. But the big game, one of the marquee games of the next handful of days until we do another podcast, is Kansas at Kentucky. And this could be a good one. I like what I see out of both squads. I really feel like Kentucky might be a little bit better of a defensive team. I don't know. I like this. I mean, it's part of – there's other lineups – or not lineups, but there's other games for the Big 12 and SEC Challenge. And like I mentioned earlier on the show, I do like how they do it mid-season. It's kind of just a little break in the season and not really a break, though. But as far as just kind of – it's not all – most non-conference in the Thanksgiving tournament, that's usually all November, December. So it is kind of nice to see that. How do you see Kentucky 16-3 visiting the red-hot Kentucky Wildcats 15-3 at home? How do you see that one breaking down? And like I said, I'm picking Iowa over Michigan State.
Yeah, Iowa's always got that sneaky home court advantage. So if they don't win, they really never seem to get blown out at big games in that arena. They kind of got the cool basketball court where the court, I believe it's actually like built underground, so it kind of has that kind of like slope, like kind of the crowd's on top of you thing. And so, yeah, even if they don't win, I wouldn't be surprised if they covered or made it very close. Honestly, for Kansas, I've seen them play a handful of times. I haven't seen Kentucky, I guess, as much as I'd like to. I did, as you mentioned, see them play Auburn, and they kind of held on for dear life to win that game on this past weekend. So I'm going in a little blind with Kentucky, but I do think Kansas, again, has, a team of, not the best players, but they kind of just figure out how to win these close games. Kind of the same Kansas, DNA we've kind of gotten fed up with and used to. It seems like it's the past 3 to 4 years, Chris, I was like, well, man, this Kansas team, they got these guys who are juniors and seniors who, people keep saying, we'll go to the NBA, but then they spend all 4 years there, and they're never the prettiest players, but they keep finding ways to win games, game after game. they're kind of a goofy team. And even then, Iowa State smacked them pretty hard to start off the Big 12. They lose to West Virginia, but they come back to beat Iowa State. It kind of is like the same MO for Kansas. Just another year where people in the media think, they don't have the regular 90s Kansas talent they used to, but they keep winning games over and over again. I would say maybe the one big advantage is the fact that Kentucky, as you mentioned, is past their growing pains or hasn't gone through the spell where Coach Cal is trying to learn, hey, who am I putting in here, or hey, we're about to blow another game due to experience. So I guess I would lean towards Kentucky just because they're maybe, as you said, they've become more of a team quicker into the season. And I was nice enough about Kansas earlier, so I'm not going to pick them for sure. That's, I got to go against them at some point. So I'll go Kentucky. A little bit of a blind pick. I haven't seen the Cats play much, but I think this is your base regular Kansas team, but they're not on the road. And they've also had a stretch of a bunch of hard games in a row, so I think they're maybe due for a little bit of a slip-up. So I'll take the Cats to beat them this weekend.
There you go. And real quick, we were talking about Tennessee. I think they've won 18 straight at home, which is damn good, obviously. And they've won 13 games in a row. And their game before, tonight, they actually had that was their longest streak, 12. Now it's 13, but that was their longest streak since 1967. 1976, actually. 1976 and 77 season. So that's how long it's been since they've won 13 in a row, which kind of tells you something. Also, kind of a stat that kind of stands out for Virginia and Duke. They're the only teams in the whole country that rank in the top 5 offensively and defensively in efficiency. I forgot to add that little stat when we were talking about that game. Not to dive back too much, but yeah, it's kind of interesting little stat there. But I like another game I'm really pumped about. I like Kentucky at home. I've seen them now a handful of times, and
okay.
I just think they're on a run. I think they're on a run, and KU's. I just think that without that big man, they're just a little lacking,
Sure.
That Lawson I forgot to mention him. That Lawson played really well for them. He's a good-ass player, and he's going to have to be their big. And he's a long, lanky dude who's kind of put together. He's got some size on him. Looks pretty strong or whatever. But he's kind of an inside-outside guy, but I think he's going to be able to do some damage down there. But the combination, I feel like he's a swing man that's going to have to play more power forward, center, down low for them. They generally have the guards, though, Kansas. They have, I don't know, they kind of got, they don't have the length they normally do. Usually they have one short point guard. It seems like they got 2 or 3 this year. Ultimately, that can matter. Sometimes it has nothing to do with anything. But yeah, I think that they're and let me actually look at Lawson's Dedrick Lawson, or Dedrick, 19 and a half and 10 boards, and he's 6'9", 235. So I do think that he's going to have to kind of fill in. That other guy, Vic, that's a guy that that has just kind of been around these last couple of years. But Vic is another guy that I think is a pretty good player. I didn't know he had his brother on there too. So the Lawson twins, except the Dedrick's much better. It looks like, just based off their stats. I haven't even seen his brother play just yet. But yeah, I think Kentucky is just a good mix of a young players and the veteran. I like them. I think they're going to get it done. Here's an interesting game here. Ole Miss, and I got to confuse with South Carolina, but Ole Miss is 14-4 against Iowa State. Iowa State taking the show on the road. Obviously, don't have many problems going on the road. They damn near won just a little bit ago. just 2 nights ago. So Ole Miss, they lost to Bama in their last game. Did beat Mississippi State and Auburn, so they kind of started out the conference run with some quality wins against 2 ranked teams. One of them was on the road, but they did drop to LSU. They dropped the game to LSU, and they dropped it at home, which is a little bit of a surprise. But LSU, obviously, based off that, that got them ranked. What's your feeling on this? I've only seen one Ole Miss game, but I keep, how you're like, basketball Twitter and college basketball Twitter, I keep hearing people talk about Ole Miss and how their coach has done a great job, and I just keep hearing about them. So I've only watched them once. So I've been kind of trying to keep an eye on them. It's a big game for them, and like you said, I'm kind of coming in blind, with Kentucky. That's how I'm coming in with Ole Miss to an extent. But I guess I've seen Iowa State enough that I kind of feel like they're going to win. They do have 2 freshmen that play pretty big minutes, and that's what messed me up because I was thinking of South Carolina with 2 freshmen and a mix of veterans, and the Gamecocks were a little while ago anyway, 4-0. They got off to a really good start, so I think that's what I got these little notes here, and I just noticed that's what I got mixed up with. Okay, sorry, I'm just kind of talking to myself there. I got to go Iowa State based off kind of what you were talking about. How I don't really know what to think of Ole Miss, but I keep hearing them on basketball hoops, college hoops, Twitter. I keep hearing, hey, watch out for this squad.
Yeah, Iowa State, they went into Texas Tech. They won. They beat Kansas. They played Kansas tight. I think this team is just maybe too young and dumb enough to not care about anything. I am a believer in the coach, and I guess I am biased because this is a team I cheer for, but I think they're just playing with a lot of confidence. I don't think many people maybe did believe in them. And it does help because they have that Mario Shayak, the Canadian kid, and that dude scores over 20 a game almost effortlessly. He's kind of got that. He's like that tall, lanky 6'9" guy, but he's a point guard. He's kind of got like a Durant type body. He's just kind of a tall, slender guy that you wouldn't assume he's a point guard, but that's all he does, and he scores pretty easily. And they're a better defensive team than I think most people think. So. Again, I'm going to lean that way too, just because I'm with. I don't know if I've seen Ole Miss play more than a game this year. So, I know that them and Mississippi State were both ranked when we did our show last week. But I know Mississippi State's lost 2 in a row, and we were kind of wondering about a couple of these SEC teams where yes, their conference is off to a nice start, and I'm a believer along with you in Kentucky and Tennessee, but, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, these are teams where we really haven't heard about them at all, like, for a really long time. I guess Ole Miss had the Marshall Henderson thing, 4 or 5 years ago, but, we haven't heard Mississippi State. I remember, like, Dak Prescott, talk about him for, like, college football.
Right.
But never really, even going back in our archive and our podcast, I never really recall mentioning Mississippi State. Yeah, maybe they had like one of those like crazy SEC tournament runs. I don't think they ever won it. It is going back like as far as you can imagine. So, maybe they got a couple of young kids who are trying to get a new kind of chemistry brewing there. But yeah, it's been a long time, brother, since they've been a real team. So it's kind of that point. All right, well, you're getting ranked. Prove to people that you deserve to be ranked. Let's see what you really got. Let's see you beat some teams that, on paper look better than you, and then maybe we'll kind of view more realistically, kind of like how we, viewed with Kentucky football in the SEC this year. Like, okay, like
right.
You say you're for real, let's prove it. And Kentucky football did prove it. They had a hell of a year. They ended up winning 10 games. So kind of the same story. Like, okay, Mississippi State, like, we've never heard about you for a long time, so beat some teams you're supposed to, and then, people will realize and give you credit like you deserve. So, yeah, I'll take Iowa State, and if they knock off Iowa State, that's I guess a step in the right direction for that team as they try to, hold on to that ranking, or I don't know if they still got after this week. See, prove to people that they're a legit team.
Well, that would be a quadrant number 1 too. That'd be a nice quad. We're just going to call wins against quality teams nice quads. You know how they the quadrant. And I wonder what the new NET would think of that win. They'd probably have to beat them by 25 points to make it look better. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mississippi State, Marshall, well, here it is. Auburn. It's kind of weird, though. Auburn's lost 2 in a row. Will they lose 3 and on the road? That's interesting. Number 16, Auburn, who isn't going to be number 16. Well, really, this is like unranked versus unranked by the time, Monday rolls around. But obviously not yet because it's going to be Saturday. Auburn at Mississippi State. Well, hey, you want to get yourself a nice quadrant number 1? There's your chance. Someone's got to win that game. Am I right? There's no ties. So just like there's no crying in baseball, there's no ties in college basketball. So someone's going to win that game.
Unless like the refs from the Saints game go and do that game and just start, blowing calls, maybe ties are allowed. We'll have some NFL roughing the passers on Brady where shoulder pads are touched. I'm never really to rule out anything, Chris. You never know.
Well, you can't breathe into his ear either, and that's what the defender was doing.
You touch his
and you
shoulder
can see how that would be tough to throw a pass when
someone's
breathing in your ear, especially if it's bad breath. If it's bad breath, dude, that would be tough, man. So I feel for Brady, man. I feel for him. Here we go. Virginia Tech, you better buck us. Syracuse is coming into town. And that same Syracuse squad, beat Duke. So just a heads up, 15-3 Virginia Tech. Who are you? What are you made of? You better go ahead and protect home court on Saturday because Syracuse is coming into town. And they made a list. No, okay, I'll just stop. Sunday, unranked Purdue, who all of a sudden is 13-6. They're making their way up the Big Ten rankings as far as in the standings, I should say. Michigan State, that's kind of weird. Thursday on the road at Iowa. Sunday on the road at Purdue. Interesting weekend coming up for Michigan State, who's been on a tear. I think they've won, 13 in a row or some shit like that. And then big game for the Ghosts, my Gophers. I'm not going to say must win, but it's a must win. Iowa, Minnesota, that should be pretty good. Villanova going against Seton Hall, who's kind of a crafty team. They're a nice little club, nothing to write home about or anything like that. But kind of looking, that's Sunday. Big Monday's not crazy. TCU, Texas Tech, someone's got to win that game too. They're both at that right now anyway, sitting at 15-4 and 14-4. TCU's improved this year, so Texas Tech's got to protect home court. But when you look at next Tuesday, we got a couple of good matchups here. Kind of some under the radar, like Ohio State at Michigan. The rivalry might come in there. Northwestern, who actually just won, just beat Indiana, which whatever that means right now. They're taking on Maryland at home. I'm really interested to see if Maryland doesn't go on 3 out of 4 losing streaks since they were so hot. I like that club though, man. They got bigs, they got guards. They're inexperienced, but they're a good club. I've seen them a couple times now, and obviously watching my Ghosts against it. The biggest game, though, marquee-wise, is number 3 Virginia traveling to North Carolina State, number 21. I like Virginia to come out of North Kakalaka State with a W. What says you? You think North Carolina State can kind of hold court and get a win here in one of these big games?
I think Virginia is right up there in the top of the ranks with the ACC with Duke and Carolina, and I guess whoever else was tied at first or for a second. So I do think Virginia gets the job done. I think that they maybe did try to focus a little more on offense after they had their, embarrassing departure last year. I do think they'd maybe try to have a little more of like, guys, we can't be an average offense team. Let's try to maybe focus a little more on offense because we know we're already good at defense. So I think just maybe being a little more aggressive will help them avoid those, games where it's, 48-48 kind of deal. So I'll take Virginia. And, again, they did lose to Duke, but it wasn't like a loss that's going to, carry you over to a losing streak or something or a hangover. It wasn't a horribly played game. You just played neck and neck, and you came up a little bit short. So I'll take Virginia to win at NC State that weekend. And, honestly, NC State always seems to bother Carolina and Duke when they go there. I don't know, what the Virginia repertoire is there. But, man, whenever Carolina goes to NC State or whenever Duke goes there, those games are always like a miracle to get out with a win. Like, that's like best case scenario. I just kind of have to cross my fingers and pray. So I think Virginia will be okay in that game.
Yeah, and the reason why we're talking about that, we brought up, NC State and all that, and also Virginia Tech. Like, we looked at their, record and their ranking and all that, and we thought, who are you really? And this is it was a five-way tie, but, man, it's not that much different. If you look at from 1 to 5, okay, it's a one-game difference. So you got Virginia, and then I'm talking the ACC, obviously. Virginia 5-1, Duke 5-1, North Kakalaka 5-1, Louisville 4-1, Syracuse, the team we just brought up, saying, hey, dude, you want a good win, especially in conference for Virginia Tech? There you go. Syracuse is 4-1, 13-5, only a half game out, and they beat Duke. So that helps them maybe later down the line. You never know. Virginia Tech in North Carolina State, number 10 and number 21 in the country, they're sitting at 4-2 and 3-2. And North Carolina State's 3-2 right now. So that's kind of why we bring that up. Like, hey, man, all right, you got these rankings. Let's see what you got. So there is a three-way tie at the tippy top. And, I don't think that's an actual three-way tie, though, is it? Because wouldn't Duke be above Virginia technically right now?
Yeah, I mean, they
got the same games, 5-1, but either way, I mean, that's pretty damn good. You have 7 teams, and they're a game and a half away from each other. So definitely crowded on the top of the ACC. When you look at the Big 12, it's going to be a crapshoot, dude, because you already have Kansas at 5-2, which is kind of weird to say at this point. Sometimes by this time they haven't, at this time, not even all the way late January yet. Sometimes they haven't even lost yet in conference. They're 5-2.
Sure.
Kansas State, a team that I mentioned, we got to keep an eye on. They're 15-4 now. They're 5-2. Baylor, I guess we got to keep an eye on them. They're 4-2. They're only a half game out. And then you got the ranked teams, Iowa State and Texas Tech, both a game out at 4-3 with TCU at 3-3. And Texas still in range, only 2 games out at 3-4. That's pretty freaking crazy, man. We're going to have a race that's going to go all down the wire, and it's not going to feel like it's going to go all the way down the wire. It's actually going to do this because we've had this. We talked about this last week. We talked about the last 4 or 5 years on the damn College Ball Show podcast. And we just want somebody else to win the goddamn conference. And it just hasn't happened. But I really think it's such a mess that I really think that it's not going to look like it. It actually is going to come down to game or 2. That's what I'm calling for this year. It's going to literally come down to either game, I don't even know. How many do they play in that conference? I forgot. They got 18 or 20?
14, 16, so 18, yeah, something 16 or 18 games, something like that.
I think it's going to come down to game 17 and 18, or 19 and 20, wherever the hell they play.
Sure.
That's what I think it's going to do. Or at least that's what I'm hoping. Am I just being hopeful? It's so weird to see Oklahoma 2-4 and West Virginia 1-6 at that bottom. One of those two teams are going to get their shit together. They're only 4 games out. West Virginia is only 4 games out at 1-6, dude.
I know.
And they got the W. They already beat them.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, every year I always say I can't look forward to, or I can't wait for, like, the conference championship weeks. And, I mean, yeah, again, I know I'll say that we don't have the old school Big East tournament. That we'll never replace that. We never will. But this year with the SEC tournament looking like a lot more fun to watch than usual, and the Big 12, I mean, this should be better because normally the ACC tournament's always fun. We normally have a little bit of rooting interest in the Big 10 for whoever's involved, but this year the Big 12 and SEC tournaments should look like they're suiting up to be really, really competitive from how teams are ranked as we speak right now. You know, sadly, if you're keeping track at home with a little tally sheet of teams we're touching, and if you have little dots and pins on a map, we did mention Nevada. We didn't really mention the Pac-12. It's not because we're Pac-12 haters. I mean, I love San Diego. It's one of my favorite places to visit. It's a beautiful city. I love Portland. I love the NBA team up there. I love the West Coast. I love USC football. I pretty much love everything. But there's not a whole lot of love to talk about for the Pac-12 basketball, Chris. I mean, I guess UCLA has kind of turned their stuff around after they fired their coach, and the Zags are the Zags out there. But, I mean, you know, the Pac-12 basketball this year, there ain't much talking. We're not leaving people out. There's just not that many ranked teams. I mean, when you got almost half the conference in the ACC,
there's not one right now. There's not one ranked team.
Jesus.
Washington's 5-0, and I'm cheering personally from a Gophers perspective, a Golden Gophers perspective, that they win the Pac-12 because that would be a quadrant number 1, and I know the net rating would love it. Although, shit, we only beat them by 1 point at the buzzer. The net rating's not going to like it. The new net rating, shit. But, yeah, you're looking at 5-0, 5-1. So it's Washington, Arizona, and then everybody else. Now, obviously, you can't forget Arizona State in there. But, yeah, it is. Jesus. It's hot garbage.
Yeah.
It's hard garbage.
Yeah.
And it needs to be taken out.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's been that way for a long time now. I mean, if not for Arizona, you know, pulling in some kids, however they did, I mean, that conference is just it's hurting. And it's kind of weird because growing up, I mean, it was growing when you got me beat by a couple of years, but I mean, growing up, it was UCLA, Arizona, like that was like, you know, pretty much on the same page as like Carolina and Duke. You know, it was just different coasts. I mean, you were talking about the same kind of guys going pro. I mean, UCLA, Arizona, that was
Final
like legit.
Fours.
Yeah,
you know, UCLA
they had it all.
Final Fours in a row. And remember, on FSN, Thursday night Pac-12s were the shit. I mean, there was a handful of those we watched. And sometimes they'd show like the Timberwolves game, and then they'd give you the second half or early or late first half, second half. You get that big right now we'd be talking about that Thursday night Pac-12 game, and it just doesn't exist. And it's just like their network. It doesn't exist. Who has the Pac-12 in their household? I don't know who, but, you know, not many.
Yeah. No, not at all. Now, to bring back a tradition from a different show, and I do say this with a smile on my face, I am feeling normal again. If you've listened to our college football podcast, every podcast I would find what we would call the crafty game of the week or the crafty pick of the week. The crafty, that was the nickname I gave my co-host and we went to radio school together. So it's kind of a combination of his wisdom and a crappy game of the week. Now, we've done this always for football, but on my last podcast, I'm like, hey, we love this segment. It's fun. let's do now for basketball. So, for the first ever crappy college basketball pick of the week, I'll give you a little bit of time. I'll set this thing up.
I'm going to have
to
find
Saturday.
It's fucking game. It's on Saturday. All right, I got to take the unranked out of it. It's going to take me an hour to find this game. Go ahead.
Saturday, 3 o'clock Central. It is in the MEAC Conference in Baltimore, Maryland. We have the Florida A&M.
Just saying it.
I think the
MEAC.
The Florida.
All right.
Florida A&M. Are they the Jags or the Florida A&M Rattlers?
We don't even know.
I thought it was a jaguar. It's actually a snake. It's the Florida A&M Rattlers against. Oh crap! I clicked on the logo. Let me. Damn! I got to scroll back. The Florida A&M Rattlers in the MEAC Conference are taking on. One second.
I don't know. What'd you say? The
MEAC?
I got to look up the fucking MEAC. Is that the
MEAC?
Okay, all right. That's the only way I'm going to find these games. That's the only way. Because I could not find shit just a second ago. All right, now where are we at? A&M?
Okay.
What?
Coppin State Eagles against the Florida A&M Rattlers.
Okay. Florida A&M. FAMU. Okay, FAMU.
One of the favorite parts of this segment is we always love to name the name of the arena they play in. This might be the best named arena ever. and we've done probably, I would say, at least 80 arenas from we've probably done this segment 80 times. The name of the arena at this game is the Physical Education
Complex. It fits 4100. And they can jam 4100 in there, though. Don't get it twisted, dude. This is a tough place to play. Have you ever had 4,100 people screaming at you?
Oh shit! We got the ESPN BPI index. we got a point for it. We got the index. So I'll set up one more time. I'll let you do your work. Florida A&M Rattlers, 6-14 overall. 3-2 in conference, respectable. Coppin State, 3-16 overall, but 3-3 in conference. So clearly, Chris, it's showing me these teams were battle tested. Like, you know what? The MEAC is a tough conference. Let's get our teeth kicked in our non-conference.
Yeah, let's go
battle
schedule.
Tested. You know, on the 26th of January, 3 p.m. Central at the PE Complex. Man, what a beautiful name complex, the Physical Education Complex. Please let me know your wisdom.
You're not kidding about getting your ass kicked. Let's go get our ass kicked and see if it toughens us up. Because they got their ass handed to them in the non-conference. Oh, my God. Dayton beat them by 30. Fucking Navy beat them 77-58. Navy. There's no triple option. There's no nothing like that, dude. Virginia put 97-40. Oh my God! This is so much harder to pick. Wow, they got their ass handed to them. Well, they played competitive against Notre Dame. I'll give them that. I can't forget about that. We remember that. I think I still have that cop in that game on DVR, so I'll go check that out. Jesus. Okay, so FAMU, how'd they do in the non-conference? They didn't go as far in the non-conference, actually. They still got their ass kicked, but they didn't face as tough a talent. So therefore, somehow, some way, a 3-8 club, Coppin State Eagles. Is it the Rattlers against the Eagles? Who wins that? I think an Eagle could just swoop up, grab the Rattler, bring them back to the Physical Education Complex, and just devour them. And that's what's going to happen. 41, that place, it'll probably be 4,300, dude. Do we have some tickets? No, they don't. Dude, they don't even have the tickets available because it's sold out. That's why. It's sold out. Oh, they do, but they don't have them on Vivid Seats. It's all sold out. All right. So according to ESPN's Basketball Power Index, my squad has a chance. My Baltimore, I'm going with Baltimore, dude. I'm going with B-more, dude. 56.3. Jack that thing up to 60 because I'm putting money on it. Yeah, I'm going Cop State. I'm going Cop State Eagles, baby. That's who I got winning this game. Cop State Eagles. Yeah, this is going to be a fun segment. I was down on it. I'm not going to lie. I was down on it. As long as you tell me the conference so I can actually find the fucking game, I don't have a problem with it at all. I like this. I'm all about this. If I win, we're going to add 2 of them. If I win this week, we're going to add 2 of them, damn it. This is going to be fun.
We're going to find some pure trash with college basketball.
Oh, my God. I didn't even think about, little arenas, dude, and the names they have. Oh, my God. What was that? What were we thinking? Man. All right. Cop State. Just put it down on there. Just put it down. We're going B-more all the way. We're going B-more all the way. And just to kind of clean up some of the last little bit of conference talk, we like to kind of scan through some of these conferences. Nova and Marquette, and then everybody else is just mediocre. I talked about St. John's. Forget about them. Forget about them. The 3 and 4, they're going to have to win a couple of games to get back on the radar. It's Nova, Marquette, and everybody else in the Big Ten. Nice to see Nova, though. Did they recoup and recover, and are they playing better, or are they just playing in a weak conference this year? We'll see. Big Ten, Michigan State now obviously in the lead with Michigan going down, almost going down back-to-back. If it wasn't for that game winner at the buzzer, they're still 18-1. But you have Michigan State 8-0, Michigan 7-1, Maryland hanging tight at game and a half out 7-2, and Purdue, a team that was just like 10-6, have been on a run, and they're up to 6-2 in the conference. Iowa 5-3, and then it's kind of a mixture. 4-3 Wisconsin, 4-4 Minnesota, Nebraska. Good club. They're 3-5. Indiana is now 3-5. Ohio State's 2-5 in conference. Illinois only has one conference win, 1-6. You know who that came against? My Golden Gophers. You know how they beat them? They kicked their ass. They just got dominated. They were 6-8 in like the first 4 minutes of the game from 3, and I looked at my buddy and was like, yeah, it's a wrap, dude. We're going to fucking lose this game. Now, I didn't think we were going to get our ass kicked, but they sure did. We already talked about whatever they call it, the Pac-10, Pac-12. Maybe they should go back to Pac-10. Maybe that'll give them a little luck.
Sure.
Tennessee, hasn't lost yet in conference. They're up 6-0. LSU, keep an eye on them, 15-3, half a game out, 5-0. Kentucky 5-1. South Kakalaka, that team I mentioned earlier, 5-1. Ole Miss 4-2 as well. And then it's kind of a plethora of stuff. And we talked about Auburn and Mississippi State. You're 2-3 in the conference. You need to have a good chunk of games here to get it going. Florida and Alabama at 3-3. We can break down the Southern Conference, but we choose not to. Same with the Summit. Actually, the Summit has been, it's not as good as it used to be, actually.
No.
But yeah, that about wraps it up. Gonzaga is going to win that conference. They'll have a couple of tough games, and that's it. They'll probably lose 1 or 2. Anything else before we get the hell out of here, sir?
No, I'd say we're good. We will have a MEAC review. I'll let you know how the Coppin State, we'll see. We got Snakes and Eagles attacking each other.
The MEAC. Mia, you know that song? Mia.
Yeah.
Baltimore, B-more, baby, all the way. Good luck coming into 4,100 B-more fans. Good luck.
As always, thank you for listening to our podcast. We love it. We're off to a good start this year in college basketball. We normally say the cliche of we have parity. This year, at least from how the conferences have started, that's even more truer than normal. Normally by now you kind of have that gut feeling in your head if Chris and I were to say, okay, who do you got winning the Big Ten, who do you got winning the SEC? I mean, we could say Tennessee, but still, it's hard to pick a team to win a conference who hasn't done it yet. And at least for now, the Big 12 is as close as we've seen this far into the year. So we're going to have plenty to break down, plenty to discuss. We will have gambling picks next week. You know, I gave you the West Virginia last week. I'll give you another one next week. We got plenty of stuff to break down. So, as always, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week. Have a good, safe week. If you're in cold weather, just stay in, watch hoops, have some beers, and have fun. The boys are out tonight. Peace.